Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. I know we got a long day planned for you. There's lots of great stuff to see in the exhibit walls and down in the bottom lobby. But we want to start the day with trends, so we really appreciate that you're here. I'm Steve Pasierb. I'm the president and CEO of the Toy Association. I'm going to kick it off, and then you get to the really good stuff. So you got to get past me to get to the really good stuff. We really are excited to share all the products and people that we've been able to assemble with our partners at Lynch Media. So there's a lot to see today. And I think for those of you who don't spend a lot of time in the toy industry, some of the folks in the press, you really get to see the magic of the products and the people that make this industry so fantastic. I'm going to talk a little bit about the business side of the toy industry. Maybe it's a little trendy, but certainly some of the things that are going on, particularly after 3 years of disruption, of trials, of travails. We've had 3 pandemic years that I think turned out in a way that no one could have expected. The industry saw about 33% growth between 2019 and 2022. That is really remarkable. It averaged about 9% average growth rate over that period of time, much stronger than in our past history. We at the Toy Association believe the total industry was about $40 billion last year. We take that and take the 76% of the market that is in the NPD data, the really rich data that we get from NPD, that shows that the market was about flat for the year. Then you add some of the checkout data and some of the other data, and you end up at about $40 billion, or potentially 2.7% growth. So that growth trend over those 3 years is really quite wonderful. We think part of that story is that specialty retail did really well over the last couple of years, and certainly last year. And also last year was the time when basically venues started to reopen. People went back on vacation. The beaches were open and they were selling sand pails. People were on vacation at venues that had been closed that weren't selling toys. That's the unique thing about this industry. We always think about the toy aisle, but toys are in so many vacation spots and amusement parks and destinations, and we've got all that back on our side right now, which is really important. So that 40 billion, about 2.7% growth. Heading into 2023, I think you'll all agree, we do know that there's some real headwinds going on out there. Every year we do a member survey. We reach out to the members of the Toy Association. We segment that by the small ones, by the large ones, by other people in the industry, folks like PR firms and licensors and others. And what we heard universally were 2 worries that the toy industry has. The first one is obvious that we're all feeling is continued inflation. And is that inflation going to continue through 2023? And what will be the impact on that on consumer discretionary spending? Right? If you're worried about your rent, you're worried about everything else, what will be left when you get to the toy aisle? The risk of recession is on everyone's mind. I said in a meeting yesterday, I think as a country we're bullying ourselves into a recession. The data doesn't show we're in one yet, but everybody keeps saying we're in one, so we're going to start to believe it may become real. And we heard a lot about the rising costs of doing business among toy companies, particularly finding talent and retaining talent. All forms of costs are getting more expensive in the toy industry, but those are things our members were particularly focused on. The other big area that we heard in our member surveys was their worries about retail. There are fewer doors to sell through, fewer places to sell toys. They're worried about the financial condition of some of their customers. Are there some more bankruptcies or things coming? There's just a big toy retailer in Germany that announced yesterday that they're out there closing their stores. So you get to think about, we talk about the U.S. toy industry, but U.S. toy companies tend to sell all around the world. So those worries are not just here at home, but they're everywhere around the world. The other thing that we really heard from them is that worry. We talk a lot about retail, and there's too much excess inventory. The key point for us on that is it isn't just toy inventory. It's all of the consumer goods that retailers need to clear that are competing for consumer dollars. It's housewares, it's clothing, it's shoes, all these different places which right now consumers are spending less, or they're feeling less pressured. Toys are a part of that mix. So our members are really looking forward to the second half of 2023. They really do believe as we get through this first half of the year, we'll have a strong second half in 2023, which will put us in great position for the holiday season. It's also important to remember, while the number shifts back and forth, about 95% of the U.S. toy industry is qualified as small businesses. We all know the major household names in the toy industry, but if we have 1,000 member companies, 950 of them are very small companies, some that work out of the spare bedroom at home in a shipping container. And they're all essential parts of the toy industry. Today we're really going to look at forward trends, and you're going to hear about that in a minute. 2, I want to share with you from the business perspective. The first is the trend of kidults, we don't see it as a trend anymore. We think it is a part of the toy industry. It's been a big part over the last couple of years. No longer a trend. I like to think of them as playful adults. I don't like that handle adult. I think playful adult, you kind of get the idea. But they've been a big part of the last couple of years for this industry. And I think it's transcended trend into now a category that companies need to focus on, they are focusing on, that we need to nurture as an industry. And if you think about that consumer, they're the ones that have been buying products at higher price points. They're the ones who have been buying the building sets and other things which are more expensive, which again helped fuel this industry over the last couple of years. So think of kidults not so much as a trend anymore, but as a category that is a really important part of the toy industry. And I think that goes again to that growth rate that we saw. The second thing that we're really talking to our members about and trying to get them to take very seriously, now that things have gotten better, the shipping prices and others, is diversifying your supply chain. The geopolitical uncertainty in Southeast Asia is a very real thing. We saw that during the pandemic from a manufacturing and a shipping standpoint. It hurt a lot of companies. They couldn't get product, or they couldn't get a product in, which caused them some big problems. I think the pandemic pointed out that vulnerability in our industry. And I'm not talking about leaving China, that you can see sometimes in headlines. It's the idea you've got to diversify your manufacturing base. You've got to be manufacturing close to your consumer. And as toys and the toy industry spreads around the world and the U.S. companies become very important around the world, we need to think about things like nearshoring, like manufacturing in other parts of the world. So that if any one area of the world has a problem, your whole company doesn't have an entire problem. Finally, I think the coming attraction that I wanted to talk to you about very quickly, and that's Toy Fair 2023. That is the big news for us. It is going to be an amazing show, a very different show at a different time of year. It is September 30th, Saturday morning through the day on Tuesday the 3rd. The Toy Awards will be once again Friday night before Toy Fair opens. Friday the 29th at Cipriani on 42nd Street, right around the corner from where we are right here. So the pattern that you've always known about Toy Fair, a great celebration on Friday night, and 4 great days of the show. You know, during the pandemic, and unfortunately the pandemic has obviously changed the world for everyone, we did a ton of research on Toy Fair. Focus groups, multiple focus groups, and focus groups. And one of the things that we really learned was the reasons why people come to Toy Fair, why people love Toy Fair, are vast, and they're varied, and they're deeply personal. Yes, there's the buying and selling. Yes, there's those things, but it's the networking. It's the reason that they're there. It's the things that they discover that they never thought they would see. It's the company they bump into in the Starbucks line that becomes a client. Those things are hugely important to people and why they're looking forward to Toy Fair. The show is moving in general to meet that very different selling season that we have now in our toy industry, where August and September are so important to move at about 80% of the goods that are sold happen in that time frame. But the perfect time of the year, if you think about the fall, for what a lot of you do, media and promotion. The fact that we're going to be able to get that information out there, that the exhibitors are going to have open booths, so much more openness than you've ever seen before at Toy Fair, not the big walls that you may have seen in the past, things like that. As well as it's been an opportunity for those exhibitors to also privately preview products for 2024. So it's all those great things we love about Toy Fair. Amazingly well timed for media, the ability to preview 2024. And the amazing news is as we stand here today, 95% of the space at Toy Fair in New York is already sold. We're 7 months away. There's more than 770 companies that are already in the show, a large number that are being vetted right now as first-time exhibitors, and we hope to have some really big announcements coming up in the next few weeks of some new facets to Toy Fair. So I'm crossing my fingers, helping crush your fingers as well. So, you know, from the major companies to specialty retailers to specialty manufacturers, that's one of the key things that we're trying to do with Toy Fair is keep it a place where everybody can feel that sense of community, do business, and really be the gathering of our entire industry. So with that, I'm going to stop on the business side of it and turn it over to the main attraction, and that is Adrienne Appell, our EVP of Communications, who's going to introduce the True Trends presentation. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. It's so exciting to see so many of your faces, not on Zoom, and it's just really great to be back Jen shortly to do the trends, but just wanted to let you know how we come up with these trends. You'll see a lot of different companies today that emulate these trends, but this is months of work. This is scouting, this is desk signs, this is previewing hundreds and hundreds of product to really come up with some changes. And typically we would have done this, at Toy Fair over at Javits. This year, our time cycles change, but in addition to this, we'll do an update in September to see where the trends have landed, and the toy industry, something new always pops up. So as of now, these are the trends we're calling out for this year, and have fun today and have a great time checking out all the examples, and pass it over to Kristen.
Hello. So our first trend is something we're calling back to basics. We had a recent study done by the Toy Association that found that 77% of parents use toys as tools for social emotional learning during the pandemic for their children, and 92% are still doing so today. So this really proves that a lot of those trends of self-care and wellness that really emerged during the pandemic are still holding strong. So the Back to Basics trend speaks to this audience of parents and caregivers who are really seeking out toys that promote healthy habits for their children. So, screen-free play, toys that introduce kids to new hobbies, products that promote self-care and caring for others, and toys that help families find moments of joy and connection and stress relief. So, classic games and puzzles. So I'm just going to head into a couple examples. What better way to teach kids those essential skills of nurturing and empathy and kindness than through classic doll play? So these are this is the line of Centennial Celebration baby dolls. This is commemorating the 100-year legacy of Madame Alexander, and these dolls that really instill the social emotional learning in children at a young age. Next, we've got the deluxe grill and pizza oven play set from Melissa and Doug. So this is the ultimate setup for kids who are interested in cooking. They want to be just like mom and dad. This has a grilling option, smoking option, even a pizza oven, and it's also tapping into that recent trend of those backyard pizza ovens we've been seeing over the last few years. So the Scouted Out 50 States game from Skillmatics. This is part of the popular Scouted Out line. Players are going to be guessing the state based on the clues that they receive. Great educational game for 7 and up, fun for the whole family. And then our last game here is the Cranium 25th anniversary game from Funko. So this is that classic game that originated in the 90s. It's back with new content, new activities, still hitting on all 4 quadrants of the brain, and this will be out later this spring. So our next trend is be authentic. Today's shoppers are really savvy, and authenticity really matters to them. So in the toy space, families are going to be on the lookout for products that offer deep play value, and they're also going to be wanting to support companies that are enacting positive change in the world. So in 2023, we're seeing more inclusive toys that offer various ways to play for all ages, including the elderly. We're seeing products that are eco-friendly, toys that tap into diversity, inclusion, and cultural awareness, as well as products that have been developed in partnership with verified experts in fields like technology and education. So our first example is the Geo Safari Junior Talking Space Explorer from Educational Insights. This was developed in partnership with Emily Calandrelli. She has an astronautics degree from MIT. She's also the star of Emily's Wonder Lab on Netflix. So she's going to be walking kids through an adventure through outer space and quizzing them. Lots of great content packed into this toy. Then we've got the Rubik's Recube from Spin Master. This has been remastered to be made entirely of recycled plastic. It also uses 100% recycled cardboard for the packaging. This ties into Spin Master's overarching goals to improve its carbon footprint, including reducing the packaging in their, the plastic in their packaging by 50% by 2025. And it's International Women's Day. Here we've got a great product from a woman-owned company. These are the Lead Her craft kits from Kids Crafts. So these really give children the opportunity to learn stories of remarkable women throughout history, and then they get to create this keepsake that reminds them that they can be trailblazers themselves. And a portion of the profits from this is going to girls empowerment organizations around the world. So this is the Naturalistas Deluxe Crown and Coil Styling Head from Purpose Toys. This is a Black-owned company that aims to authentically represent natural hair textures with the goal of bringing doll products to market that really reflect the beautiful coils and curls and natural hair of Black children. So our next trend is pop culture lifestyle. There are more touch points for brands and content than ever, so fandoms for a lot of consumers are really evolving into lifestyles. In 2023, we're going to see more toy companies digging into verticals for their brands and a wider array of fandoms. So we're going to see everything from gaming and anime themes in toys to those core and aesthetic trends on social media to relaunches from past decades like the 90s and Y2K. This trend is really targeting those kiddos who have deeper pockets, as well as younger children who want to interact not only with their favorite characters on streaming platforms and in digital worlds, but through physical product as well. So first we've got the Playmobil Naruto figures. So anime is currently experiencing tremendous growth. This is really a trend to watch in the toy space. The US anime market is outpacing the rest of the world. Naruto has a long cult following of fans, and now new fans are discovering this anime through streaming platforms. So this line is really going to resonate with a wide consumer base. Then we've got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1989 classic figures. So Playmates is relaunching its classic 12-inch figures for the first time since 1989. This is going to appeal to those kidult collectors, to nostalgic millennial parents, and kids today who are going to be excited about these with the new movie coming out this summer. Then we've got the scented curly twist no-tie shoelaces from Scenty. So these are launching today at Playdate. They are a total throwback to the 90s. I know I have these myself. They come in a variety of colors and scents. They're made from this stretchy elastic that requires no tying, and they're one size fits all. So adult shoes, kids shoes, lots of fun. And then we've got the Bluey Hammer Barn shopping and play set from Loose Toys. So, Bluey has really transcended toys and the kids' entertainment space to really become a part of the cultural zeitgeist. We've seen Bluey on the cover of In Style in Australia and Rolling Stone, Jimmy Fallon, and this playset brings to life one of the locales from season 2 when the Healer family visits Hammer Barn, the hardware store. So this is a great playset for families to reenact their favorite moments from the show. So that is it for pop culture lifestyle. I'm going to pass it over to Jen.
Okay. So the next trend I'm going to be talking about is what we're calling the Tween Takeover. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the kidult consumer, as Steve mentioned before, but we no longer see it as a trend to call out. Instead, we're going to be focusing a lot more on talking about the tween and teen audience this year. And a lot of the conversation about looking at the kidult came about in also looking at the idea that there's no longer this stigma attached to being playful and playing with toys and games past a certain age. In fact, it's not so much that these age groups have stopped playing, but they're just playing in different ways and they're leaning into specific play patterns. More of the toys that are geared towards tweens and teens are because toy makers are aging them up or aging them down to meet this in-betweener group. And thanks to social media, there's even kind of a cool factor to showing off their toy collections, customizing and displaying their toys. And that's reflected in some of these examples. Collectability is a huge driver for this age group, and that's really seen in plush and collectible figures at all scales. Obviously, Squishmallows was a prime example of that over the past few years, and Jasper's new Living on the Veg plush line we think is also going to tap into that, as well as kicking into a little bit of the sub-trend of mushrooms that are kind of taking over not only the toy space, but all different items. On the micro scale, there's also Disney's Doorables Squish-a-Lots from Just Play. And this one is going to resonate because one, it's the Disney 100 this year, and there's those chase characters that you're going to want to collect, but there's also a fidget play factor to these as well that's really tapping into the sensory play that continues to resonate with this age group. Another example is customization and personalization being really huge in terms of customizing their looks as well as their play spaces. And the plushies tote bags from Tea Turtle really resonate and accentuate this idea, as well as featuring multiple characters. There's a little bit of a flexible factor to this as well. And then there's the HD coloring kits from Crayola. So this is part of a line that specifically was designed for this age group. Obviously, it's a step up from their yellow coloring boxes, which kind of are more for younger kids, and a step down from their signature line, which is geared towards adults. And this is a real great example of what's happening to that. The next trend we're going to be talking about is what we're calling the macro to micro trend. And this trend is all about size. Obviously, we have been talking about size for a while, and toy makers have been putting out different size products for a long time. But this trend specifically taps into playing with scale in a way that adds play value, emphasizing the attention to detail and functionality of micro-sized collectibles and stylized toys at a micro scale, as well as incorporating new mechanics and play components to make something at a macro scale. Social media is also driving this trend further because toys are going viral and bolstering consumer demand for these types of products. At a smaller scale, there's also that novelty factor, and Mini Thinking Putty from Crazy Errands really taps into that. Another great example of that is also the Sorting Snacks Mini Fridge from Learning Resources. This one also kind of taps into the food play trend that we're seeing kind of take off at a micro scale across social media, while adding in a little bit of educational play value as well. And then there's Five Surprise, toy mini brands. They have their Series 3 collection now. Obviously, this is another micro-size line that's been around for quite a while, but it's just resonating again because they're continuing to offer new versions of pint-sized classics, and it's really highlighting that idea of detailing that goes into shrinking down well-known brands into a micro scale. And at the macro level, there's Arcade 1-Up's new deluxe home arcade gaming cabinets. And this emphasizes both the novelty factor of bringing these types of gaming experiences home at the scale, as well as incorporating new gaming mechanics, new play patterns into these types of products. And then lastly is our entertainment update. With licensed toys and games accounting for 31% of total toy sales, our entertainment update this year looks at just some of the exciting licenses that we think are going to resonate in the toy aisles this year. And there's a lot of big toyetic movie properties coming to the screen that we think are going to really translate into toy sales, including Indiana Jones. Lego has their Indiana Jones Lego sets on display today, and that really emphasizes how this property is certainly offering that cross-generational appeal when hitting big screens. We'll also continue to look at anniversary products that are going to resonate with consumers, and Jurassic Park is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, which I can't believe, but this one is going to have that cross-generational appeal, and Toy Monster's anniversary builds and battle surprise eggs tap into that. Barbie is another brand. Obviously, we've been kind of talking Barbie core when you're looking at fashion over the past few years. It's a brand that continues to resonate and remains popular, and the new Barbie movie we think is going to drive the brand further this summer with products like the Barbie pop-up convertible that's on display downstairs today from Sunny Days Entertainment. And then we're going to continue to look at these digital spaces because this is obviously where kids are spending a lot of their free time and it's and getting a lot of their content. So in looking at that, a great example of that is the Number Blocks Friends 1 to 5 set from Hand to Mind. This is based on a digital edutainment series, but there's a ton more that you're going to want to pay attention to. That's really cool. And with that, that concludes the Toy Association's 2023 Toy Trends Briefing. And we invite you to explore all the products that are seen across the show floor, and you can find experts from our team as well as Adventure Media to speak more on these and other topics throughout the day. Thank you.